I want you to picture the team that you're working with. Now imagine for a moment that ideas are flowing, creativity is thriving, and everyone is working towards the same shared goals. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how to build a collaborative team environment and how having a collaborative team can actually build trust as well as encourage open communication. So watch till the end to discover how teamwork can boost your success as well as get ready to transform your team dynamics. So today I'll be discussing the benefits of collaboration, secondly, encouraging open communication, and lastly, team building activities and things you can do to enhance communication. The benefits of collaboration are that number one, you can work towards achieving common goals. This is very important because if your team is dysfunctional and you're all pulling in different directions, you'll never achieve anything. And in fact, by working together despite your differences, you'll be able to be a lot more effective. Some of the important things about having a collaborative environment is that number one, it enhances creativity. You can have brainstorming sessions with your team and see how to use the different ideas that people come up with for the advancement of your team. Secondly, innovation. It's possible that by not always just consulting the team that you immediately work with, but maybe even consulting from people from different departments who don't always interact with your team and asking them for their input on your work, you can find that you get different perspectives and new ideas that you never thought of. And it can also boost team morale. Things like going out for team lunches, engaging in icebreakers and team activities, as well as other social events as a team, can actually boost your team spirit and just break some of that tension that sometimes takes place when we work together with the same people for too long. Secondly, encouraging open communication. Some things you can do to promote open communication is, number one, active listening. This is something I've probably spoken about quite a number of times, and I actually did it in an earlier video, so you can go back and watch it, my video on active listening. So I'm not going to elaborate too much on it, but basically, when you have open communication, it means people know that when they speak, you'll be willing to listen, because communication is not just one way. It's not just you speaking all the time, but it's also about you listening, and not just listening for, like I said before, for information to go in one ear and out the other, but to really listen to understand where that person is coming from. And secondly, people will feel and know that they can share ideas without hindrance, and that no ideas will be thrown out unless, of course, they are not viable. But it's important to have open communication with your team. In order to build trust and respect, you need to make sure that you're consistent and you're transparent with your communication. Because when you are, yes, I know that with organizations, sometimes there's a need to know clause somewhere where not everyone is privy to every bit of information unless they need to know it. I know that's true, but it's important that when you are working with a team of people and you want to create a collaborative environment, that you're always transparent and open with them about especially things that affect them directly, and be consistent. Don't sometimes be hiding things, and at other times you are speaking about things. So just make sure that you're consistent in that regard. And also, when people give input, appreciate and acknowledge their input, because it's very easy to just disregard what people say because you don't think it's such a great idea, or because you don't agree. But despite that, still acknowledge what people say and appreciate it. And also follow through on your promises. When you say you're going to do something, as far as possible, please make sure you do it. Unless there is something that is hindering you, unless you are legitimately hindered and you can't do it, and you have a valid reason, then that's understandable. But always make sure that you keep your promises. Also, create a safe environment for people to communicate. How you do this is by creating communication norms. But to achieve this, it's important to have a communication policy where you outline what is required when people communicate with each other in terms of how to interact respectively with people across the board. Also, having an open door policy where people know that whatever issues they have and whatever it is they want to talk about, they can talk about it, not just in terms of their peers, but even in terms of their superiors, to know that they can raise issues and talk to them without hindrance or feeling like they'll be shut down, So it's important to do that. And also have other channels which are anonymous for people to use, because some people may not be, especially if they're raising very sensitive issues, they may not be comfortable to share who they are. So make provision for anonymous feedback channels. And also I just want to ask you quickly, what strategies do you use to encourage open communication where you work? Please do pop in the comments what it is that you do to help to encourage open communication. And lastly, team building activities. As I mentioned earlier, this can actually reduce tension in the team, because when you work with people for too long, it is possible that you get tired of each other and you can rub each other up the wrong way. But I mean, this includes things like doing practical exercises together that can strengthen your team bonds. And ideas of team building activities, I mean, there are so many, but you can do blindfolded navigation, problem solving activities, as well as volunteer projects as a team. But look, I mean, there's so many things you can do. And I know that there's quite a number of service providers out there who also provide team building activities. So yeah, make use of those and do it often, not just once a year, whether it's quarterly or monthly, depending, of course, on your company's budget and the provisions for that. But make sure that every so often you and your team just have a time where you can just socialize outside of work, because that can also cause you to become more cohesive as a team and break down the walls that were there before. And I mean, you can also do other things like, just to give a few examples, going to an escape room where you have to work together to break out of a room, or a scavenger hunt. You can even have cross-departmental sports tournaments. You know, I mean, the list is endless. Just use your imagination and find ways to yes, I know that most people would normally just have a team lunch, but I think also think outside the box and find other activities that you can do, that because yes, a team lunch every now and again is fine, but also to find other such activities in order to boost your team's collaboration. And also make sure that you encourage participation and engagement within your team. Make sure that people feel that they can give honest feedback, and as well as constructive feedback, and also make sure that you can take it as well. And secondly, involve everyone, especially in decisions that affect them, or if it's not a decision or something that they need to know about, if it affects them, make sure that people have that information. And as well as in your meetings and other interactions with your team, use things like icebreakers, and whether it's an icebreaker you create or something you find online, yeah, use icebreakers just to lighten the mood and get the creative juices flowing and get everybody relaxed. Yeah, so one very important thing, especially for in order to create a collaborative team, is to make sure that you have open communication. This is when people feel that they can share their thoughts and their feelings honestly without hindrance. And also make sure that you and your team engage in team building activities. As I said, whether it's quarterly or monthly, depending, of course, on your team's resources and your company's budget, because I know that most companies have set aside a budget for team building. Yeah, so that's it for today. So just finally, I just want to know, what is your key takeaway from today's video? Do let me know in the comments, and do subscribe to my channel if you're watching and you haven't already. And look out for my next video, where I will be discussing the essentials of professional communication.